Yeah, I just got back. Yeah, everything went good. Everything went good. Yeah, for the first session today. Yep, everything was good. Yeah, send it to my email. I'll take care of it because I'll be free tomorrow until like 11. Yep, you can send it to my email and I'll take care of it. Then we're gonna illuminate a couple topics today. Peace, peace, everybody. Peace, 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 peace. Tap in, tap in. Peace, peace, peace. Tap in, tap in. Peace, 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 peace. Everybody tap in, tap in. Tap in, tap in. Peace and love and light. Peace, 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 peace. We're going to have another good illuminating day today. Give it a couple more seconds for a couple of my people can tap in. We're going to illuminate some things today. We're going to illuminate a couple topics so we can remove the veil of hatred and dogma and get into the know, get into the essence. So we're going to speak of two things. We're going to speak of over this Buddhist, this way of life, not a certain person per se. And I'm going to illuminate a little bit of the ancient ones. I'm going to play a snippet of a couple videos just to, you know, kind of get you familiar with what I'm talking about. You know, and you can go along. I'm going to kind of go through it kind of fast, but not fast, but you can get an idea for it. And if you would like to, excuse me, if you would like to watch the video for yourself, I always tell people, send me your email and follow me on YouTube because a lot of the stuff that I talk about, I already played it on my YouTube channel and things. But yeah, let's give it a couple seconds. Peace to everybody, peace to everybody, peace, 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 love and light to everybody and positive vibrations to everybody. On my platform, I'm not here to debate or argue over no one religious dogma. That's not my mission. I'm not orthodox. I'm Tasawwuf. I'm Sufi. I don't operate with nothing outside of myself. So if you're here for that type of discussion or that type of argument, this is not the place. My channel was not a debate channel, you know? So I'm here for light and inner peace and education and give you things to compare to as you get to the higher self. That's the type of science that I'm into. That's the Islam that I'm into. Nothing outside of myself I gravitate to. Now, whatever you may choose to do, that's what you may choose to do. But here at the BBT, that I'm the teacher, the mapping guide, I'm the Sufi for, we teach an inner peace and we teach an inner wisdom. I know who I am, and that's where it stops. I hope you know who you are. I don't let that mess up my business and life because I do real business as I in my travels and I'm in my real endeavors when I'm in my DBA, when I'm doing business as. But excuse me, I tell everyone it's the right way to do things. And education is key. Education is always key. If you have a problem with that, then I really think you're a disservice to humanity. So I'm going to play a little tittle. Let's see. Let me see. Of a couple films. I want to see if the first one. Let me see. I'm trying to see, can I find it? Hold on, give me a second. Trying to see, can I find something? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna play this one last because I want to remove the veil how a lot of people make things to a color. I'm gonna talk about the different Buddha manifestations in my last one, but I'm gonna illuminate some things because a lot of people may have watched conscious community things, and sometimes they give truth and falsely strangely mix, but they don't tell the whole truth. Like it's all different type of Buddhas and manifestations depending on the demographics that you're in. And when I say Buddha, Buddha wasn't a person per se. And so I break that down in the last demonstration so you can get a hand on it. And even keep your eye on it when you watch videos from conscious communities and they try to say something is copied because they don't know. I'll give you a little drop before I get into this. Research on Dia. When you will see melanated people say the big Buddha is a copy of this and the other, but they have no idea different things all over the globe because they're not international. Look up research on Dia, ONGDIA. And we'll leave it there with all due respect. I say it's always, we can always correct the teachings when people try to make it a color thing. And I say, man, we way past color. We way past color. I tell people this and say, dude, anytime somebody come with this or that, the wisdom is a tittle. With all due respect. Let me get this up. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Actually, no, I'm going to play this one first. And hopefully they let me play it because I'm going to play this one. I'm going to play this one first. I'm going to play this one first. Let's see what it play.
And poverty, but thou art rich. Welcome to the Black Exodus.
And now, when I give things, I give you things to compare to for your scholarship, just like if you was coming to a lecture. Don't get all upset and all feel, that's not how you do in scholarship. I'm giving you things to compare to, because if you was told something without reference, how do you know? So when I speak on whatever topic it may be in, you don't have to be into it, and you don't have to believe in it. Especially if you operate on something that's different than what we here to demonstrate, and we're not going to tolerate that. So what I'm showing you here, what I'm demonstrating is, if a person can say this, then what about this? And when I give things, I always narrate different topics to make sure we operate justly. Because when information is being given, sometimes the information is being given in certain ways that you might have to peel through a little stuff, that you might have to take that information and throw the rest away. Why? Because how the information is being conceived or being given. Understand what I'm saying? So let's proceed.
An abundance channel. Did you know the first Buddha was a black man? The original Buddha, the first people who conceptualized and worshiped the divine image were the Negroes, and they actually started the practice of Buddhism.
Now, I'm always I'm a narrate it. When they say this, remember the Nagas. You can research on YouTube a little young boy in the spelling bee. They said spell niggas. And he said, well, put it in a sentence. What's the etymology? What's the origin? Research what I'm saying. With all due respect. Because even when we get with Krishna, you know what Krishna means, with all due respect. So I'm giving you something to compare to. I'm not saying it's better than this, or this is that, or that is this. But what I'm saying for educational purposes is only, it's a reason why this is there, and it's there. And these things are there, regardless if anyone like it or not. Or if we can take some Greek mythology and some mythology and put it as valid and put it as ancient, then I think, come on, my brothers and sisters. So let's proceed from educational purposes only.
I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Welcome to the Black Excellence.
Let me fast forward
Nuggets
it.
to become conscious of their one mind power as opposed to the Manta power. We will elaborate on the Naga race a little later in this presentation. Buddhism, whose doctrines include the Golden Rule, treat others as you wish them to treat you, was established 500 years before Christianity in the area now called the Middle East. We want to make it perfectly clear that the Middle East is actually in Africa, on the African tectonic plate. So when you hear the term Middle East, just remember that we're speaking about Northeast Africa. Buddha is not a name, but a title, meaning enlightened one, blessed one, or to become awake. The original Buddha was not a god. He was an ordinary person named Siddhartha Gautama, whose profound insight inspired the world. In general, Buddha means awakened one, someone who has awakened from the sleep of ignorance and sees things as they really are. A Buddha is a person who is completely free from all faults and mental obstructions. Over the centuries, there have been several recorded Buddhas like Gautama Buddha, Siddhartha Buddha, and Shakyamuni Buddha. Black Buddhist missionaries introduced Buddhism to China, Japan, and other countries, and that bears repeating. Black Buddhist missionaries introduced Buddhism to China, Japan, and other Asian countries. Buddhism was in Africa over 1,000 years before it ever reached Asia. As a matter of record, the true history of the Buddha from India has been known to most serious scholars for many generations. For example, one of the most brilliant and exhaustive studies to look at languages and histories of nations are the book titled Anacalypsis, an attempt to draw aside the veil of the Sadic Isis, or an inquiry into the origin of languages, nations, and religions, volume 1 and 2. They were written after years of research by English historian and linguist Godfrey Higgins. He published this massive 2-volume work in 1833, in which he gives many references to the Buddha, such as he is continually described as a Negro, not only with a black complexion, in which he agrees with Krishna, a name that means the black one, but with woolly hair and a flat face. Yes, folks, Krishna means the black one. Higgins further states that in the most ancient temples scattered throughout Asia, where his worship is yet continued, he is found black as jet, with the flat face, thick lips, and curly hair of the Negro. These references by Higgins accurately describe the earliest depictions of the Buddha. Buddha is the founder of the world's first egalitarian religion, or the believing in the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. He preached against racism, sexism, and he wanted equality of all humans. While slavery and racism is America's greatest sin, slavery and racism is Buddhism's greatest sin. Buddhism's greatest sin happened 1900 years ago when the Hindu Brahmins took over Buddhism and created a religion codex on India's black inhabitants that was so cruel and warped that their motto in time produced the world's first sanctioned racism and sexism, called the caste system. This system was so perverse it infected the world with racism and sexism. With the caste system of the so-called untouchable in India, many of them turned to Buddhism in order to cope with the nonsense of putting the darker people on the bottom. The untouchables have the darkest skin, all that beautiful melanin. That's pure racism. Over 500 years before anyone ever heard of Christianity, blacks in Africa were practicing Buddhism. Herodotus speaks of Meroe as the cradle of Buddhism. Meroe is an ancient city on the banks of the Nile River and the kingdom of Kush, or the land of the blacks. Many Afrocentrist blacks call themselves Nubians. What most blacks don't know is the Nubians in India are called Naga. Naga and Nubian are one and the same people. One is in India and one is in Africa. If you take a close look at the people of Ethiopia and India today, you'll find that many of them look exactly alike. The man recognized as the father of his story, Herodotus, writes about India. All the tribes I mentioned, their skins are all the same color, much like the Ethiopians. Greek historian Diodorus writes, and upon his return to Greece, they gathered around and asked, "Tell us about the great land of the blacks called Ethiopia." And Herodotus said, "There are two great Ethiopian nations, one in Sindh, India, and the other in Egypt." The Greek historian Homer lived around 800 years BC, around 150 years before the Buddha was born. Homer wrote that India was called Eastern Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a Greek word that means burnt skin. Science proves that the ancient Indian civilization was the Harappan culture, or the Indus Valley civilization. Egyptian Egyptologist Findus Petrie, a pioneer of systematic methodology in archaeology and preservation of artifacts, found evidence in Egypt that connected Shakyamuni Buddhism in Egypt through the Persian period. Buddha is one of the world's greatest and most remarkable figures who have changed in world history for political purposes, from black to white. According to the founder of the Proud Black Buddhist World Association, Anthony Amp Elmore, the practice of modern-day Buddhism is a case of robbery in plain daylight. Elmore says, Shakyamuni Buddha is the from us, and we must tell our story.
All right, I wanna play something else. I wanna give you all another drip, a little something older. Let me see. And then we gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it going. I had to find this. This was in my archive.
The art, science, music, literature, drama, the whole culture, particularly the religion of all the people of Asia, can be traced directly to the Africans of Asia. India, Japan, China, just to name a few. Even Afro-American history can be traced directly to the Africans of Asia. I know it sounds strange to you, but the world owes a debt to the Africans of Asia. In the following presentation, you'll find out exactly why. Just give me a few seconds. The Your ancestors never intended to let you down. In this book, called The Gods of Northern Buddhism, we find a name, the Asian name of the supreme deity of the universe. His name is Sambo. They say when nothing else was, Sambo was. The name of the God of the universe to the people of Asia. And there are many places that carry this name. This is a depiction of Sambo. This is not an African statue. This is from Asia. And many places in Asia are called Sambo Judasia, the land of the descendants of Sambo. Various spellings of the word and the name Sambo can be found throughout Asia. Negas, the divine people of Buddhism. This is a 2nd century depiction of Gautama the Buddha being given his first bath by the divine people of Buddhism called Negas, a tribe in Asia called Negas, the divine people of all the people of Asia, symbolized throughout Asia by the serpent or the dragon. That is their symbol. The Nega means serpent or dragon, the snake, found at the entrance of every temple. The Nega on the roads, on the hills, in the caves, the symbol of the Asiatic black man, the tribe called the Negas, the divine people. There are cities also throughout Asia that carry this particular name, Nega. It can be seen at all ceremonies dealing with worship of God. From the Nile Valley to the Indus Valley, on tombstones, a symbol of immortality because of the serpent's ability to change his skin is a sign of never dying, and is used throughout the planet Earth, North, South America, Egypt, Asia, Africa, throughout the world. It's the symbol of life after death, the Nega, the serpent. In all ancient cultures, in all ancient religions, the serpent is the symbol, the Nega, the symbol of divinity, of God. The original inhabitants of Southeast Asia was called the Mons, an African tribe. In order to confirm what these people look like, you have to go to the archaeological finds from Davarati, a French archaeological research finding confirming the original inhabitants. There's no depictions preceding these of the original inhabitants of Southeast Asia, the people, the descendants of Sambo, the Asiatic black man. The 7 serpents, or 7 rays, or the Negas surrounding his head, represent the cosmic forces that afford him protection. He is a divine representation of cosmic forces, and those 7 serpents represent his divine mission. He does not come of his own. He's a manifestation of the cosmos. The serpents, or the Nega, represent cosmic forces, which is at his command, which represent him as a divinity. He is the manifestation of the universe. That is the symbol of those serpents you see surrounding his head. In essence, the 7 serpents are cosmological, dealing with astrology, astrological representations of those forces of the cosmos that he represents. He is a universal monarch, a universal king, which he manifests and he shows evidence of. The black man of Asia, the original inhabitants of Asia. He is a human being of flesh and blood. He comes as a teacher, as a manifestation of God. His teachings are called the Dhamma. He is called the Buddha, the intelligent one, the one who has achieved intelligence, or the genie, the conqueror. He comes to explain the laws of the universe. He comes to confirm that there is, in fact, life after death. When the Buddha appears, he appears as a preacher, and he preaches the Dhamma, that existence is a continual cycle of death and rebirth, and that each person's position and well-being in life is determined by his or her behavior in their previous lives. For example, good deeds may lead to rebirth as a wise and wealthy person or as a being in heaven. And a person's evil deed could lead to rebirth as a poor and sickly person, or even rebirth in hell. You
preaches that you reap what you sow. A Buddha also teaches that it's possible to break out of this cycle and gain a kind of perfect peace and happiness by practicing righteousness. They are manifestations of God. According to their prophecies, they promise to prove and make manifest through a Buddha or a Jiva life after death before the end of this century. How can you teach a people to know God if he himself does not know God? If you try teaching a Christian that God is also a human being or manifests himself in the form of a human being or makes himself known through a human being, they will say that you're crazy, that you don't believe in God. Meanwhile, they admit that he's a mystery God who is unknown. They teach not to make any likenesses of him, yet they adorn their walls and churches with pictures, images, statues like human beings. They also say he is a spirit that cannot be seen. They cannot see him, yet they believe in him. In order to remove all doubt, the Buddha, the enlightened one, the intelligent one, the genie, the conqueror, decided to make manifest to the world irrefutable evidence. They wanted to prove to a people in the future the manifestation of God, that God manifests himself through human beings, through men. Now, prophecy is irrefutable. A prophecy is a written confirmation of what will happen at a future date. These people, the black people of Asia, predicted or prophesied what they would do 2,500 years into the future. The prophecy states that he would send something from the past and join it with something from the future, something from the material world and join it with something from the spiritual world. The union of both the past and the future worlds and the spiritual and the material worlds would be contained in the revelation of a secret mystic diagram called the Mandala of Two Parts. This is a depiction of the future Buddha who would make this manifest at a point before the end of this century. Now, the scriptures of the world have all prophesied at the end of the age, which we are now entering, the age of Aquarius, we shall see the revelation of that which is secret and the emergence into the light of day of that which has hitherto been concealed and veiled. This, our present age, is that time, the end of the cycle, the beginning of the new age. This book by Ivan Van Sertima raises the question of the African presence in early Asia. How did they get to Asia? This is the future Buddha. How did they get to Asia? They were called the Mons. And the wind and the rain in Asia is called the monsoon. This is the key to how they got to Asia. The monsoon wind in April blows from the southwest, and in October it blows from the northeast. The monsoon wind blows from Africa to Asia, and from Asia back to Africa. The wind from April to October blows from the southwest, and from October to April it blows from the northeast. These two trade routes and routes that of travel is the direction of the Mons, the Africans of Asia. They went from Africa to Asia, and from Asia to Africa, and they were called the Mons. Like the monsoon, Africa was called Hither India, which India, here I am, come hither, come here where I am. And they would get on the ocean and get in the wind. This is where the phrase, get in the wind, come from your previous life. The Africans of Asia got to Asia by getting in the wind. This is confirmed from the first century. The Greeks knew how they got to Asia. The wafting sailors, they call it the divine ship of salvation. The Mons, when they would arrive in Asia and when they would leave Asia. The Japanese badge of nobility is called a Mon. The monsoon, the monastery, Mani, is identified with the black man of Asia. And the largest statues on the planet Earth located in Asia are depictions of the Buddha, the black man, the Jinnah. His hair confirms who he is. This is the largest statue in China and the largest statue on Earth depicting the black man. The oldest and largest manifestations of God, like this image of the Buddha in Thailand and Southeast Asia, are representations of the black Africans of Asia. There are no other statues or monuments of antiquity that precede them. They manifest themselves on earth and prove life after death. This from Ceylon or Sri Lanka, showing the Buddha, thousands of years old. They are the largest statues on earth representing the black people of Asia, or the black man of Asia, the one who comes back from the dead to prove immortality. They do it all the time in all the countries, and they prophesied that they would do it before the end of this century. This is the largest statue in Sri Lanka, the largest statue in China, the largest statue in India, the largest monolithic statue on earth, the genie, the one who comes back from the dead, carved in solid rock 70 feet high. The largest monolithic statue on earth is the black man, and it is not in Africa, but it is in Asia. The Asiatic black man, the manifestation of God, who comes back to preach and explain the doctrine of immortality, how to escape the fires of hell. That is his sole purpose. To attack him is to attack the cosmic forces of God. He sits in Western style because he will be born in the West. The people who he will be born among are called the Negas. This is the future Buddha, the one who is to come. Prove with irrefutable evidence for those with intelligence that there is no death, that life is eternal. And this evidence of eternal life is put in place by their control after death of the cosmic forces. This is a cave in India showing the one who is to come in the future. All of these statues and monuments are thousands and thousands of years old. The future Buddha, sitting down in Western style. He is known by many names in many religions. To the Christian, he is the Christ. To the Muslims, the Mahdi, the Messiah, the Avatar, Maruk Bull. To the Koreans, the Buddha, the Genie. All different names for the same individual who is to appear now at the end of the age, the beginning of the new cycle. He is also called Maitreya, the future Buddha. In this book, Maitreya, the future Buddha, you can find the prophecy of his return in 2,500 years. This prophecy identifies the time when he is to appear. It states that he will appear in 2,500 years in a tripartite year in the first year of a cycle. He will descend to be reborn, and he will produce a city of silver by transformation. He will change a city which will serve as evidence of who he is. He must produce a city by transformation. The Buddha was born in 560 BC and died in 480 BC. He received enlightenment at the age of 35, which is 525 BC. This prophecy had to have been made between 525 BC and 480 BC. If you project 2,500 years into the future, it'll come between 1975 and the year 2020. 30, 60, and 90 are tripartite years. 1930 and 1960 is gone. The only tripartite year left is 1990. The first year of a cycle is 1991. In 1991, the future Buddha is to appear. 1991. In Angkor, in Southeast Asia, we find the city of the future Buddha, hidden from the outside world for thousands of years and discovered by the French in 1858. It was hidden in the jungle by fig trees. This is the city designated to confirm the future Buddha. This city was hidden because of the banyan tree, a tree that starts in the sky. Birds drop their seeds from the sky on the leaves of existing trees. The branches spread out horizontally and then grows down, covering everything beneath it. The tree is worshipped throughout Asia. It's called the tree of God. It is the only tree that starts in the sky and comes down. Here you see it written that one tree covered 20,000 people. It is the most unusual tree on earth. It's the fig tree, the banyan tree, the tree that hid a 36-mile wide city in the jungle for thousands of years. This is the tree of God. Here it is explained that the tree spreads indefinitely and it is not known to die. It's the tree of immortality. It is the most famous tree in Asia, the banyan tree, the tree of God. This is an artist's depiction of the city of the future Buddha, a city of stone, a stone Bible of the religious teachings of the Africans of Asia. This is the entrance to the temple called Angkor Thom. An 8-mile perimeter covers the city. This picture shows you how the tree starts in the sky and the roots come down, covering that face, which you see. Those are roots from a tree which started in the sky, covering the face on a tower. There are 50 towers in this city with faces of the future Buddha. This is a close-up on the future Buddha's face with the roots which started in the sky and came down to cover it. The fig tree. This is a picture of that particular city, a map showing you the 36-mile perimeter. And there's a 7-mile perimeter around this city of Angkor Thom. This is the city which we will focus on, the Bayonne, the central temple of Angkor Thom. This city is viewed as a Bible, a sermon in stone. As you can see, it was built by men to confirm and serve as evidence, irrefutable evidence, of the future Buddha. That the Africans of Asia who built this here, they knew and wrote the future before it happened, and that the future Buddha would use these stone images of himself, these 50 stone-faced towers, skyscrapers in the sky, stone monuments, a Bible on the walls to confirm his identity, hidden in the jungle for thousands of years. Even though the city was sacked of its riches when it was discovered by the French, it still bears testimony to the teachings of the black people, the Africans of Asia. These stone-faced monuments are depictions of the one to come. There are 50 towers telling you that this one, the future Buddha, who you see here, would be in a tower. The 50 towers representing the 50 states of the United States before they were ever discovered. The lions on the outside also bear testimony, since there are no lions in Asia. The lions came from Africa. These are African lions. This map shows you all the animals of Asia. The lion is not an indigenous animal. The tiger is. The symbol of China, one of the major symbols, is the symbol of the Asian society for all the people of Asia, the lion, testimony to the influence of the Africans of Asia. This book on sculpture from Thailand and Cambodia shows you some of the bronze and stone sculpture stolen and put in private collections from this city of the future Buddha. These were inside the temples and taken out by the colonial powers and put in private collections for private exhibits. The Africans of Asia. Let me clarify the way of the gods in all cultures. Number one, they write the future before it happens in stone. Then they let the future happen. Then they send one back from the dead who explains it and reveals that which they wrote. This constitutes the execution of judgment. Now, this shows you that there are, in fact, 50 states in the United States, and there were 50 towers in this city. The future future Buddha is to appear in a tower in the United States on the 7th terrace. There are 7 levels above his head. That's the esoteric teaching. On the walls of this book is the story of the people whom this individual, the future Buddha, would appear among. Here we show the Europeans coming into Africa. We see they have weapons on their shoulders. This is on the walls in this city. We see the African with his bow and arrow going to meet the European on the field of battle. We see the African with his elephants and his weapons of war going to meet the aggressor coming into his country. Here we see the 2 armies clashing on one single panel on the southern wall at the temple of the Bayonne in this city. The African army on the left, the European army on the right, and they clash in the center of the stone carving of the European invasion of Africa as the Europeans load the African arms to the bottom of the ship and take off to America, onward to America. The Middle Passage where the Africans are thrown overboard, the entire history or book of revelation or unveiling is shown in this city of the kidnapping of Africans from Africa. This city is a book of revelation and apocalypse in stone. It is discovered by the one they call Maruk Buddha, the future Buddha. He discovers and unveils the true meaning of this city. This is in the religious teachings of the people of Asia. He uses a city carved in stone. True book of Revelation, the apocalypse. The book of Revelation, which will be discovered and explained. And we will now take you to the true history of the United States of America and their slaves to identify the truth carved in stone thousands of years before it happens about these people, the Africans of America. This document, this is the true document of the slave trade from Great Britain or the British House of Commons. It consists of certified eyewitness reports of the satanic atrocities of slavery. The fact that it was a conspiracy is evident by the pattern of punishment and the systematic step-by-step method in which it was applied for over 400 years. It is an orgy.
So let me stop
The
right there.
infliction of pain.
Hold
The
on,
infliction of pain on innocent people.
cause you know I gotta speed it up.
The pain inflicted on a husband
So actually, let me see.
with the white presence in the
I want to go to the next. I want to go to the next one. If you're rocking with me, I'll give you all these, for you can read for you can listen to yourself. But I want to get.
This is a warped new.
Oh, no, not that one yet. Not that one yet. Hold on, I'm gonna get to that one. Cause we definitely. Here we go.
Peace to the global family. Today, we decode a sovereignty that.
Okay. Now remember I told y'all,
Peace to the global family.
when I tell everybody don't get caught up in semantics when everybody talk about how the spelling of more is. Another history lesson to give you something to compare to. So let me set this up, brothers and sisters. Let me know if y'all can see this.
Today, we decode a sovereignty that predates every map in your textbook. We are peeling back the layers of the New World to reveal the ancient, melanated bedrock of the Mississippi Valley. We are talking about the empire of the Washita Moors. Long before the 1492 arrival, the heart of what is now Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi was governed by a people known as the Washita de Dugdamoundia. These weren't nomads. They were master engineers and mound builders who constructed massive, high-vibe earthen structures like Watson Brake, dated to over 5,400 years ago. That's older than the Great Pyramid of Giza and Stonehenge. The Washita weren't brought here. They were already here. They are the ancient ones. Their name itself, Washita, stems from Ouachita, meaning the black people. While colonial narratives try to classify all indigenous people under a single red phenotype, the primary evidence tells a different story. These were indigenous black people, the remnant of a global seafaring culture that utilized the great river systems as their highways of trade and power. In 1993, the truth pierced the veil of officialdom. The United States government, via the United Nations, recognized the Washita de Dugdamoundia as the oldest indigenous people on the continent under UN Small Nations Research Case 215/93. This wasn't just a certificate. It was a legal admission that a black indigenous empire held sovereign title to over 30 million acres of the Louisiana Purchase territory that was never legally sold by the Washita, but rather transferred between colonial powers who had no right to it. Why is this archive suppressed? Because if the world realizes that the mound builders were indigenous black Moors, the entire framework of the Atlantic slave trade as the sole origin of black presence in America collapses. The mounds are the fingerprints of a civilization that was high-tech, high-vibe, and sovereign. The Washita didn't cross an ocean to find their home. They built the very earth you stand on. Respect the ancestors. The mounds are still speaking if you have the ears to hear.
So, hold on.
Peace to the global family. Today.
So, give me 1 second, y'all. Hold on. Let me double check something. Hold on, family. Hold on. 1 second. Got to take a quick intermission. Hey, babe. None. I'm about to finish live. Can I call you about like 10 minutes? About to finish live. I'm about 10 minutes left. Okay. You on your way home? Okay. Love you. Love you. Hello? All right, y'all. So, I'll be having to do a couple things at one time, so apologies. So I hope y'all got a little bit of
Peace to the global family. Today.
of what I'll be talking about, how you can't be biased on things. Because there's no reason to. Oh, yeah, let me play this. And I gotta be careful when I play this. Let me see.
Today, this is a warped, new, mute.
Yeah, I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful. Dang, brother, man, I gotta be careful when I show this one, cause I try to be I'm trying to be. Hey, look, I just feel good, man. Like I said, I had a good day. You know, I was dealing with my mom, making sure everything go right. We got a couple more sessions, but like you said, brother Bay, for educational purposes only. And then when when you asked me something early, brother Bay, and you was like, "Is that the brother from such, 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 such?" And I was like, "Yeah, I told you I was gonna show you things." But what I want to show people is they always try to make things about a color and say this is that and this is that, and not understanding all the different understandings. You know. When I talk about when they say, well, "What do you mean?" I say, "Brother," I say it's all different manifestations. Like when I talk about Ong Dia. When you say something is this, and this is that, and this, and that, and the other, and X, Y, Z, to try to get your understanding to a biased perspective. Man, y'all understand what I'm saying, man. Like I say, man, you get to a certain level, I would hope, when people try to explain things, I told people stop following things. And that's the only way family and friends will get to know, because you will see the synchronicity and you will see the higher level of wisdom. All man with religion is going to try to connotate what's right and what's wrong. And I've been demonstrating, if you have eyes to see, what it's all about. Have I spoken on that? You know, not really. But, you know, sometimes I think people will hear it, Brother Bay, and won't even know. You know? Hold on, I'm responding to my partner. Hold on. Hold on. What he say? He like, man, thank you for everything you do. He was like you did one day. Oh, we talk about Vishnu or Krishna worshipped. Yeah, the Puru, Odisha, yeah. Alongside his sibling. Yeah, that's what he talking about. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's what he talking about. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what you talking about. Uh-huh. Yeah, that deity in Peru. Mm-hmm. The sub Hadara. Exactly, exactly, exactly. 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 Yeah. The genetic represents a unique non-anthropomorphic, with deity. Yes. The Vishnu, the Krishna, and the tribal deity. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And so everything I'm going to do, I'm going to show brothers and sisters the synchronicity when I tell everyone, like, I'm Sufi, I'm Tasawwuf. I understand clearly of all other religious rites. I clearly do. But when you come to that level of peace, it's just an understanding. It's just like when you're dealing with the so-called type of Islam that I deal with, when I say I deal with the Sufi Islam. I don't have a problem with nothing else, you know? So, when people be misquoting things, you always want to make sure. Okay. Ah, okay. Man, I'm sorry, man. I haven't had a chance to respond to a lot of my emails. My stuff is blowing up. But I want to share something with you guys real fast. You, I want to share something with you guys real fast. If you didn't catch those books in that last demonstration from Godfrey Higgins, when it's explaining the Buddha and all that, what you say? I enjoy this space. Makes me feel like I'm not talking astrophysics to a mechanic. I know that's right, brother. I know that's right, brother Bay. But if you didn't catch those pieces of important pieces of history in the last demonstration of Godfrey Higgins, the Anacalypse by Godfrey Higgins, and an attempt to draw aside the veil of the Sate Isis Volume 2 by Godfrey Higgins, Anacalypse. I guess I'm pronouncing it right, you know? So, I just want to share a little bit of, how can I say, wisdom as I get into higher science when I tell my brothers and sisters, when I say I have a clear understanding. But when I talk about the path to wisdom or the Dharma Fada, you know, and that's just another vernacular or a language in this type of science of the enlightened one. When we're talking about the enlightened one, a higher level of wisdom and understanding. And I always try to tell people when you come into that light, it's just certain things that, how can I say, it's not, it don't become a problem, you know? You know? I don't want to stay too far with like the origination of it, you know, because that can be exhaustive and take a little longer. I want to get into some of the tenets of some of this, you know, and just make some things plain. So you can see the synchronicity of science, you know? Like when we talk about pairs. So when you get into science of the higher wisdom, because the divine must come first. And if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you should understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying nothing that's not familiar, or foreign. But the mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind wroth. If with an impure mind a person speaks or acts, suffering follows him or her, like the wheel that follows the foot of the ox. Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind wroth. If with a pure mind a person speaks or acts, happiness follows him or her, like his or hers never departing shadow. He abused me, she abused me, he struck me, etc. Overpowered me, or he took this. Those who harbor such thoughts do not steal their hatred. He did this to me, she did this to me. This person overpowered me, this person took this. Those who do not harbor such thoughts steal their hatred. Listen to the wisdom. So what I'm saying is, this type of thought of lower self, this hatred per se, is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law eternal. These are those who do not realize that one day we all must leave the flesh. But those who do not realize this settle their quarrels. Stay with me, watch this. Just as a storm throws down a weak tree, so does Mara overpower the man who lives for the pursuit of pleasure, who is uncontrolled in his senses, immoderate in eating, indolence, and dissipate. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with enjoying life things. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. So don't get it twisted. Just as a storm cannot prevail against a rocky mountain, so Mara cannot never overpower the man who lives meditating on the impurities, who is controlled in his senses, moderate in eating, and filled with faith and earnest effort. Whoever, being depraved or deprived, devoid of self-control and truthfulness, should don the monk's yellow robe. He surely is not worthy of the robe. But whoever is purged of depravity, well established in virtues, and filled with self-control and truthfulness, he indeed is worthy of the yellow robe. That's why I say it's certain things that we should be doing as adults. When we say this is what we should be doing, then we do it. I'm not talking about nothing else. Those who mistake the unessential to the essential, and the essential to the unessential, dwelling in wrong thoughts, never arrive at the essential. Why? Because the thoughts are wrong. That's all. Just like Carter G. Woodson said, we've been miseducated. And those who know the essential to be essential and the unessential to be unessential, dwelling in right thoughts, do arrive where? At the essential. Just as rain breaks through an ill-thatched house, so passion penetrates an undeveloped mind. That's just natural. We just say nothing was wrong with it. Control? Yes. Wrong with it? No. Just as rain does not break through a well-thatched house, so passion never penetrates a well-developed mind. Why? Because these are things that you are an adult. I am an adult. Remember, when I was a child, I acted like a child. I thought like a child. You see? The evildoer grieves here and hereafter. He grieves in both the worlds. Remember I talked about that subconscious last week in ADAPT class. How? Things can be stored in that area, and then as an adult, what? It resurfaces. He laments and is afflicted, recollecting his own impure deeds. You know? My daughter's saying we can go where? Okay. The evildoer suffers hereafter. He suffers in both the worlds. The thought, the evil have I done to torment him, and he suffers even more when going to realms of woe. What I'm saying, when we put out wrong energy, when we putting out the wrong energy, that's the woe. Well, when we putting out the wrong energy. This is all I'm saying. That's all I have to say. And the doer of good delights, here and hereafter, he delights in both these worlds. Why? Because what the Lord's Prayer say, you want the same thing on earth as it is in heaven. Last time I checked, with all due respect, the thought, good have I done, delight him, and he delights even more when when gone to realms of bliss, per se. I hope you know what I'm saying when I'm speaking in this metaphysical context or this philosophical context. Much thought he recites the sacred text, but acts not accordingly. That heedless man is like a coward who only counts the cows of others. It's just like in the biblical scripture when somebody say, you're looking at the toothpick in someone's eye and you got a log in yours. We're not here to judge. We just to show people how we can what? Be better and be an example of what? That helping hand. It ain't about nothing else. I promise you this. He does not partake of the blessings of the holy life. Understand what I'm saying? When things must be explained, because people take things out of context and they arbitrarily explain things. And when words are explained, you be like, oh man, okay. But then a person will make the word up and it connotate it to make it fit your scenario. And you can't do that. And little though he or she recites the sacred text, but puts the teachings into practice, forsaking certain things that's overdrafting, like hatred, delusion, with true wisdom, emancipated mind, clinging to nothing of this or any other world. He or she indeed partakes of the blessings of a holy life. How? Because the heart is pure. That's why everybody say they love Bobby Hemmett. When people talk about this, that, and the other, the heart is pure. That when the heart is pure, that's the start. When we talk about heedfulness, just like in business, say you may have that circle and you may have business in that bubble, and then off that tree, or I call those lines or those vapors, you have all these what? Byproducts, in business. You'll see the circle and you'll see all those rays off that one entity, and all those byproducts will be off that one major entity. So we get to the aspects of heedfulness in this higher level of peace per se, because heedfulness is the path to deathless. Heedfulness is the path to death. Stay with me. The heedful die not. The heedless are as if dead already. Clearly understanding this excellence of heedfulness, the wise exult therein, and we enjoy the result of the noble ones. Stay with me. The wise ones, like myself and yourself, we ever meditate and steadfastly preserving a long experience, nibbana, the incomparable freedom from bondage. Ever grows the glory of him who is energetic, mindful, and pure in conduct, discerning and self-controlled, righteous and heedful. By effort and heedfulness, discipline and self-mastery, let the wise one make for himself, herself, an inland with no flood can overwhelm. You see? But, my brothers and sisters, the foolish and ignorant indulge in heedfulness, but the wise ones keeps his or her heedfulness as his or her best treasure. Remember, you don't take a part of your extremity to operate in the righteousness. Why? Because that pendulum must swing the same way to the left as it does to the right. You must control it. Understand these variables of a perfect penta. Do not give way to heedfulness. Do not overindulge in things that's not right for you. And only the heedful and meditative, the contemplative, those attain great happiness. Why? Because when you do those things at an adult, it makes you feel good. You don't feel bad for those things. Why? Because when you operate on that level, everything that you do, that transfer of energy, no matter what level it's on, it should be a spiritual level. No matter what level it's on, I hope you listening to me, empresses. I hope you listening to me. You got to. You got to. Just as one upon the summit of a mountain beholds the groundlings, even so, when the wise man casts away heedlessness by heedfulness and ascends the higher tower of this wisdom and this understanding, this sorrowless sage beholds the sorrowing and foolish multitude. Absolutely, Brother Bay. Heedful among the heedless, wide awake among the sleepy. The wise man, the wise woman advances like a swift horse, leaving behind a weak jade. And by heedfulness did Indra become the overlord of the gods in this context. Heedfulness is ever praised, and heedfulness is ever despised. The monks of the day and the ancient who delights in heedfulness and looks with fear and heedfulness, you know? Okay. Advances like fire, burning all fitters, small and large. The monks who delight in heedfulness and looks with fear and heedfulness will not fall. He is close to Nibbana. So we go over a couple more of these tools in the toolbox. I use that vernacular that we may use in our science. These are the tools in the toolbox. So I'm just using a specific tool, you know. So this tool is the mind, because the mind is a terrible thing to waste. In the biblical scripture, you may hear the phrase or the word Sophia, or the female counterpart. That's bringing it to that mental aspect. Why? Because in the biblical scriptures, I hope you seek anything, wisdom. So Sophia is the female counterpart that's portraying to wisdom. Everything in the biblical scriptures to explain something inside is going to give you an outward explanation, which we call one of the tools, the exoteric explanation of something esoteric. But you must be one of the ones of the way, or my close companions, the ones of the way, to understand the science of the biblical scriptures, the analogy, the parable, and the symbology, and the historical origin of whatever is going to be demonstrated to you. If you're going to believe or belie or whatever the cause may be, you have the choice. Do what? To understand. So let's proceed with this topic at hand. And we at the point of the mind. You know, in other teachings, I always break down the mind. I like to break it down as the hippocampus and break down different facets of the mind and break down the Gnostic teachings of certain things to show you how we should get off our knees, and other people use it for power while we use it for when the flesh is gone. But that's for a whole nother teaching. That's for a whole nother teaching. When I say we must come with true understanding. So the mind, just as a Fletcher straightens an arrow shaft, even so the discerning man straightens his or her mind, so fickle and unsteady, so difficult to guard, as a fish when pulled out of the water and cast on land, throbs and quivers. Even so is this mind agitated, Hence should one abandon the realm of Mara. Wonderful indeed. It is to subdue the mind. So difficult to subdue. Ever swift and seizing whatever it desires. A tame mind brings happiness. Let the discerning man, let the discerning woman guard the mind, so difficult to detect and extremely subtle, seizing whatever it desires, seizing whatever it desires. Because a guarded mind does what? Brings happiness. Dwelling in the cave of the heart, the mind without form. Remember in the Matrix, you see the mind with the so-called spine? I'll talk about that at a later teaching. Wanders far and along. Those who subdue the mind are liberated from the bonds of Mara. What I'm saying, wisdom never becomes perfect in one whose mind is not steadfast, who knows not the good teachings, and whose faith wavers. Stay with me. There is no fear for an awakened one whose mind is not sodden by things that can, how can I say, have you consumed. Because I always talk about balance. I always talk about this at balance. I always talk about things like the museum, and why certain figures was in the museum, and why those things were set up, and what was going on in the museum for certain things can happen, and make sure it was going on. But that's a whole nother teaching. Realizing that this body is fragile as a clay pot, and fortifying the mind like a well-fortified city. Might out Mara with the sword of wisdom. I always use the analogy of clay in a kiln. You may say, what is a kiln? I don't know, maybe you were in elementary and you take that and you might have made a clay pot or made a wrestling man, and then you made it all up, then you put it in the kiln, then you put glaze on it and all that after it come out. You want to make it the best, so you shave off the excess stuff, shavings, before you put it in the kiln. Then guarding the conquest, remain unattached. You see? And ere long, alas, the body will lie upon the earth, unheeded and lifeless, like a useless log. Whatever harm an enemy may do to an enemy, or a hatred to a hatred, an ill-directed mind inflicts on oneself a greater harm. That's why I always ask brothers and sisters, so you want the power to do the same thing that was done to you? No, you want the power to liberate and turn the mirror around. Why? Because love trumps all. If you operate on a higher level of love, love didn't say you was weak. Love didn't say you turn the other cheek, because a lot of stuff in the biblical scriptures, those are metaphors. When I break these things down, when you hear religious people arguing over things, well, your God said you can smack a cheek. When you hear the religious and the Muslims arguing, and I say, if you don't understand metaphors, then that's your fault. And when I break metaphors down, everybody have to shake hands and walk away. How? Because higher wisdom should be allowed to do that. That's why I tell people, and they all know they metaphors, and you catch a person when they know that, because it's just a game. I say that's a metaphor. If you don't know that, then you don't have the tools in the toolbox to what? To what? Break the things down that need to be broken down from this context. That's all. Come on, Brother Bay, absolutely. Absolutely, Brother Bay, and I'm right here. That's why I'll be laughing. I said, how can you deny what I'm saying? Because you upset, and I'm your brother, a high priest. Come on, man. Realizing that this body is fragile as a clay pot, and fortifying this mind like a well-fortified city. Fight out of the Mara with the sword of wisdom. Then guarding the conquest, remain untouched. But whatever harm an enemy do, that's what's going to come back to you. Neither mother, father, nor any other relative can do one greater good than one's own well-directed mind. Think about this. All this, when we say we respect all the laws and the prophets, and then I hear brothers and sisters that's supposed to be under this more science, and all I hear them talk about is folktale, is barbershop talk, is no wisdom. And then they say and then we talk about this adapt thing, and I say, well, we're going to deal with adapt wisdom. We're going to deal with all the tools in the toolbox because we don't gravitate to one science where we miss the essence of the rest. We come in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, a clear understanding. But when we deal with the flowers per se, if we stay in context with the wisdom, with this type of understanding, when we understand this wisdom, it's like a being, not a being per se, you know, but this essence, you know? So when we talk about these flowers per se, who shall overcome this earth, this realm of Yama, and this sphere of men and gods? Who shall bring to perfection the well-taught path of wisdom as an expert, as a garland maker with his floral design? A striver on the path shall overcome this earth, this realm of Yama, and this sphere of men and gods. The striver on the path shall bring to perfection the well-taught path of wisdom. As an expert garland maker with his floral design. Am I right about it? Absolutely. Realizing that this body is like Farath penetrating, is mirage or is mirage like nature, and plucking out maras, flower-tipped arrows of sensuality go beyond sight of the king of death. If you hear what I'm saying. And as a mighty flood sweeps away the sleeping village, so this thing called death carries away the person of distracted mind, who only plucks the flower of pleasure. Did you hear what I said? I said, who only. Didn't say it was nothing with the pleasure. I said, who only plucks that? When you only indulging in that, there's no balance. There's no balance. Stay with me. The destroyer brings under his sway the person of distracted mind. Who insatiate in sense desires, only plucks the flower of pleasure. So what I'm saying, as a bee gathers honey from the flower without injuring its color or fragrance, even so the sage goes on our alms round in a village. Did you hear what I said? Well, do you know what alms is around the village? That's why certain things was done and certain individuals was in the museum, and a lot of things that we doing, just not our culture. With all due respect, let none find fault with others. Let none find fault with others. Let none see the omissions and commissions of others. But let one see one's own acts, done and undone. Like a beautiful flower, full of color, but without fragrance, even so, fruitless are the fair words of one who does not practice them. You see? So if we're talking about peace and understanding and doing right, because that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anything else. Because anything else I can care less about. That's what I'm saying. That's the energy we put out. How? Our fellow brothers, that's the resurrection. That's the level we get to. If we saying we dealing with anything, that's science. We should be dealing with this sweet fragrance. We should understand who we are, what's going on. Think about this. All the fragrances, sandals, the Tagara, the blue lotus, jasmine, the fragrance of Virgil is the sweetest. The fragrance of virtues are the sweetest. Did y'all hear what I just said? Let me say what I just said again. Let me reverse. Not the sweet smell of flowers, not even the fragrance of sandals, tagara, or jasmine blows against the wind, but the fragrance of the virtuous blows against the winds. Truly, the virtuous man, truly, the virtuous woman pervades all directions with the fragrance of his or hers virtue. All of the fragrances, sandal, tagara, blue lotus, and jasmine, the fragrance of virtue is the sweetest. My. Brothers and sisters, in this context, faith, is the fragrance of the tagara and sandal, but excellent is the fragrance of the virtuous, wafting even amongst the gods. Also, the Mara never finds the path of the truly virtuous. Okay. Who abide in heedfulness and are freed by perfect knowledge. And upon a heap of rubbish in the roadside ditch blooms a lotus, fragrant and pleasing. Even so, on the rubbish heap of the blinded mortals, the disciple of the supremely enlightened one shines, right? Resplendent in wisdom. I hope y'all caught these small dynamics when the eye or when the panel is fully developed. I'm telling you, we're going to get there. I tell everybody this is for a family when I use the analogy, a lamb for a household. When I'm telling you, this is how things should go. I'm telling you, that can change the world. It's one science. And when we deal with the context of all these things, when I say, well, the fool, and a person say, well, are you calling me a fool? Never am I calling anyone a fool. We talk about these attributes, or we talk about these things that we can say, okay, we can put this in the context of these words that we use in this craft of inner science and use it for this and place it in this category. So I'm going to do two more and we done. But the long is the night to the sleepless. Long is the league to the weary. Long is worldly existence to the fool who know not the sublime truth. Now, the whole thing in here, if we say, okay, well, what's some key words in here? Long is the night. Sleepless. League, weary. Worldly existence, fools, sublime truth. So just those words, you should be able to get a lot out of that and put it to other things that's synonymous to what we're talking about. And should a seeker not find a companion who is better or equal, let him, let her, resolutely pursue a solitary course. There is no fellowship with the fool. The fool worries, thinking, I have sons, I have wealth, indeed, when he himself is not his own. Whence our sons, whence his wealth? A fool who knows his foolishness is wise, at least to that extent. But a fool who thinks himself wise is a fool indeed. Though all his life a fool associates with a wise man, he no more comprehends the truth that a spoon tastes the flavor of the soup. It's just like my dad was telling me an instant when a guy used to walk around with a newspaper and he couldn't even read. And though only for a moment a discerning person associates with a wise man, quickly he comprehends the truth. Let me go back. Though only for a moment a discerning person associates with a wise man, quickly she comprehends the truth, just as the tongue tastes the flavor of the soup. I hope y'all caught what I just said. Thank you, Brother Bay. I'm right here. It should be no reason. As my professor said, he said, shouldn't be no reason. You anointed and consecrated. outdone this action of doing which one repents later per se, and the fruit of which one weeping reaps tears. Well done is the action of doing which one repents not later, and the fruit of which one reaps with delight and happiness. So what we saying is nothing, I'm saying nothing is wrong. I'm saying all these things, what we're speaking on is being explained. So long as an evil deed has not ripened, the fool thinks it is as sweet as honey. But when the evil deed ripens, the fool comes to grief. Now, what am I talking about? When you know you leading things in burning houses, because I'm not talking about anything else. This is the thing, this is the fool. If I pull out my tarot card, these are certain things when I talk about how? The court jester. You know what I'm talking about? The court jester. The court jester acting like they know and they don't know. That's what I'm talking about. That's the court jester. That's the card. That's what we talk about. That's when we say wise counsel. Nobody says seek court jester counsel. No, Brother Bay says seek wise counsel. Wise counsel. Month after month, a fool may eat his food with the tip of a blade of grass, but he still is not worth a 16th part of those who have comprehended the truth. And truly, an evil deed committed does not immediately bear fruit, like milk that does not turn sour all at once, but smoldering. It follows the fool like fire covered by ashes. That's right, Brother Bay, talking about things you have no knowledge of. And you can, and I know this. How? By the vernacular that you're using. I know you have no idea, and I know where you got it from, with all due respect. To his own ruin, the fool gains knowledge, for it cleaves his head and destroys his innate goodness. Remember, you see these people, they get consumed. You know? That's all you see, that they get consumed. The fool seeks undeserved reputation, precedent. We call it clandestineness among the astute like ourselves and the dignitaries. They want that, you know? You know? And honor. Let both laymen and the high priest think that it was done by me per se. But in every work, great and small, let them follow me. Such is the ambition of the fool. This is his or her desire, and pride increase. Stay with me. One is the quest for worldly gain. Didn't I tell y'all this is a Jedi mind trick? Didn't I tell you I said certain individuals think the individuals are so crazy because they started doing the same thing these other people did? Remember Rolls Royce Diaries? Now it's happening again. I told y'all these people is not intelligent. They just like, oh, somebody moved out the way. There's room for me to do the same thing. I'm talking in code. I'm telling y'all, it's too simple, my brothers and sisters. Watch. But the ambition of the fool, thus, is their desire and pride to increase. And one is the quest for worldly gain. And quite an other is the path to Nibbana. And clearly understanding this, let not those like myself and others, that's monks, and operate as high priests, the disciple of the Buddha per se, be carried away by worldly acclaim, but develop detachment instead. Think about it. Like, should one find a man who points out faults and who reproves, let him follow such a wise and gracious person as one would a guide to hiding treasure. You see the beauty in that? It is always better and never worse to cultivate such an association. let her admonish, instruct, and shield one from wrong. He indeed endear to the good and the detestable to the evil. Do not associate with this type of companion, the evil companions. Do not seek the fellowship of the vile. Associate with good friends. Seek the fellowship of noble men and women. He who drinks deep, the Dharma, lives happily with a tranquil mind, because the wise man ever delights in the Dhamma, made known by the noble one. In this aspect, we call it the Buddha, the enlightened one. Remember, irrigators regulate the rivers, fletchers straighten the arrow shafts, and carpenters shape the wood. But the wise, like us and others, with the wise, we control ourselves. Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by the praise or the blame. Stay with me. On hearing the teachings, the wise become perfectly purified, like a lake, deep, clear, and still. When I use the context of walking contradiction, why? Because anytime that you're walking in truth, and you in a test tube with your laboratory, with your what? Test tubes and your beakers, you always doing the work. So you always can add value to and what? Improve on things that's already happening. Why? Because you already always where? In a laboratory with your test tubes and your beakers. Understand what I'm saying? Nothing's new under the sun. You just haven't been introduced. As you're in your library, as you're in the laboratory, things will be what? Introduced. How? It's that simple. Stay in the science. The good renounce the attachment for everything. The virtuous do not prattle with a yearning for pleasure. Did I say pleasure is wrong? No. Those things are needed. The wise show no elation or depression when touched by happiness or sorrow. Remember, I tell people, man, a lot of things that I had to get to this level, it was a second when especially when I lost my brother, so I had to go through this phase of this purification per se to get to this level of Buddha, to get to this level of peace. And it's I'm still, mastering these things. Am I there? It is flickering? Absolutely. But I'm saying these are the levels that you have to get to. So when people depend on you, no matter what spirituality that they in, you have to be ready for that. And I got to that level, and I'm at that level where I understand this. And when you get to that level of understanding, you can enjoy life. Where? In the now. Why? Because it never was a time when man was not. Time, I don't understand that. That's foreign to me. I don't deal with time. I deal with the right now. So when I come to these things, there's no sorrow. Why? Because when I was born, I understand the flesh will go back to what? A certain thing as that clock goes on. And as Brother Bay said, that form of alchemy continues to what? Prove itself right over and over and over. So I understand that. Understand what I'm saying. You have to. Come on, man. It's a glorious time for clear understanding. That's what we do. But on hearing the teachings, just hearing the teachings, when the biblical scriptures, you hear them say, let me just touch a remnant of the teacher's garments. Let me just touch a remnant. Brothers don't even want to touch a remnant, and they will not go to the others just like that. We should be spreading this like wildfires. Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame. On hearing the teachings, just on hearing the teachings, the wise become perfectly purified, like a lake, deep, clear, and still. What? Just hearing the teachings. The good renounce attachment for everything. The virtuous do not prattle with a yearning for these things, these underlying things. We're not praising for these things for self-glorification. There's no reason. Because why? He is indeed virtuous, wise, righteous, who's neither for his or her own sake, nor for the sake of an other, does any wrong, who does not crave for those individual wealth, even though there's nothing wrong with being wealthy, but that's not the craving. Why? Because when the cup run is over, that's how I'm able to do this work. But those who act accordingly to the perfectly taught Dhamma will cross the realm of what? Out of the flesh, which we think is difficult to cross. And remember, I'm telling y'all things, I'm giving y'all high science. When we cross this realm of out of the science, which we think is difficult to cross, only then when you come to this higher science, what I'm talking about. Abandoning the dark way, let the wise man cultivate the bright path. Having gone from home to homelessness, let him yearn for the delight and detachment, so difficult to enjoy. Giving up sensual pleasure with no attachment, let the wise man cleanse himself of defilements of the mind. So what I'm saying, brothers and sisters, we have to get to a clear understanding. That's all. That's all. When you hear the Arahat or the Arahat, A-R-A-H-A-T, when we talk about the perfected one, it's so much we can touch. But I want to stop right there. And when I tell my brothers and sisters, man, it's nothing new under the sun. I promise you. Just like when I talk about certain hair, when you see the Buddhas and it be like little knots, those are called, they say China bumps. But originally a so-called African-American or Negroid spiritualist, it's like a compressed afro per se, with all due respect. You know, and you can research these things, you know. That's all, you know. And as students and as educators, we should be able to speak and teach in a way of understanding from no biasness, you know. And that's what we're here to do. So when brothers talk about their level of more science or their level of understanding, I don't have a problem with that, you know. But I also let brothers and sisters know I can't let anyone be biased with understanding because you just on a lower level of wisdom, you know. When I show you signs and symbols, when I show you the wheel of Dharma, when I start showing certain things and explaining certain symbology, you will understand. But that's why I tell my brothers and sisters, my people that I lost due to lack of knowledge. Why? Because we refuse to learn. And we do it. And they throw it at us as spookism. And that word Dharma is translation of the Sanskrit word Dharmatakara, similar to the wheel of a chart that keeps revolving. Remember, it symbolizes the Buddha teachings as it continues to be spread widely and endlessly. The 8 spokes of the wheel represents the noble eightfold path of Buddhism, the most important way of practice. And the noble eightfold path refers to the view, the right thought, the right speech, the right behavior, the right livelihood, the right effort, the right mindfulness, the right meditation. And in the olden times, before the statue and other images of the so-called Buddha was made, the wheel of Dharma served as the object of worship. At the present time, the wheel is used interchangeably as the common symbol of Buddhism per se. So I just be giving brothers and sisters higher levels of understanding because we respect and obey all the laws and the prophets, you know, those that we haven't seen and those that's in the flesh that done a good for a people, you know, and I'm not going to hear and I'm not going to belittle that. And I'm sure not going to let nobody, you know, come and say this is better than that. Why? Because I'm in the flesh. And that's like I understand. The scripture says there's going to always be great ones in every one dispensation. You know? It's going to always be a LeBron James or a person that has an expertise in life because that's just how it goes. And we should gravitate to it and put it on the pedestal. Why? So it can be spread. That's why. Nothing I'm talking about is outside of anything. A lot of us don't know that words have synonyms. A lot of brothers and sisters are just not really introduced to the science, and the understanding is on a tittle of wisdom, because there may be a group of individuals telling you that your history is only is big as this, or what they telling you, and I'm showing you all these broad levels of everything. Just like I can take you to the Netherlands and show you Swordy Pyatt, aka Black Pete. I can take you to Corsica and show you the Corsica flag. I can take you to the Ancient and Modern Britons by David McRitchie. I can show you all these things in history where you will say, okay, I hope you start understanding, just like the so-called Africans in Asia by Ivor Van Sertima. You will see all these things, the symbology and similar all over the globe. With all respect, from no biasness and no prejudice. No one have to do that. It can be done from a place of scholarship and love and understanding. And that's how we do things here at the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School. And that's where I challenge my brothers and sisters to that we need y'all support to help us spread the word. Everything here when you do donations is tax exempt. As I can continue to get on this road, man, and really start getting on panels like it was back in the day. I met an elder at it's a little Mexican store I get a lot of my fruits and stuff from. And she was like, baby, I know who you are. And she was like, you remind me back how I used to be on Tony Brown journals. And I'm like, that's how I wanted to get. And I always be asking brothers, have they ever seen Tony Brown journals, where they used to have Sheikh Anadiab, Ivor Van Sertima, and all those scholars and elders on there. And they was at University of Arkansas, Birmingham, I think, but the brothers was there debunking Eurocentric and Negrocentric propaganda. They weren't arguing, all those brothers, scholars from different levels, and that's where this need to get back, where you don't have people going around spreading mis things and people getting in trouble and all this falseness, but we have these things, people with their expertise, as Brother Bay was saying, like people that can come and explain things and be like, okay, what? From a spiritual understanding, from a historical understanding, from an origin understanding, and not just using a religion to say, well, you have to be this, because clearly that's unacceptable if the biblical scripture speaks of a plethora of different individual ethnicities, or how can I say tribal individuals. That's kind of crazy. And then when I really illuminate some things, then a lot of people be shutting down. You see what I'm saying? And so that's all I'm trying to share with my brothers and sisters, man. We can't be going in this time period where this is the age for what? For us to bring what we know to the forefront and say, nope, here it is right here. It's just like anything else. We say a prophet and an angel supposed to come from his or her own country. Like, come on, man. Like, this is time. Like, I really think this is time for all of us to say, okay, boom, let's get us the opportunity. Let's help this brother to see if he gonna really do what's gonna be done. Because I've been courting everyone long enough. And we have the opportunity to do something so beautiful, y'all. I'm telling you, that can change the whole paradigm of not only us as adults when we say the children are the future, but the children can only know what we teach them. So right now, if a lot of the adults don't know anything, a lot of our children definitely don't know what I'm talking about. Could be why, because I know a lot of adults and a lot of mid-age people, they don't know. And they be just amazed at the elementary things that I talk about. And I be amazed at the lack of, understanding that I give when it's just coming from a prerequisites or how can I say, a schoolmaster standpoint. When I see a lot of brothers that graduate from universities, especially so-called African-American degrees, they don't know who J.A. Rogers is. They don't know who Ivan Van Sertima is. They don't know who Dr. Francis Quelch Wilson is, about Empress Gostin L. Bay. All these other books by other writers, They didn't know about Carter G. Woodson. They didn't know about David McRitchie, wrote about ancient and modern Britons. They ain't know about a lot of those books. The view of the Hebrews, all these books, how he show you how the Book of Mormon was plagiarized from these books. All these things that a lot of our brothers and sisters, I'll be sitting and I'll be doing like this, y'all. I'll be like, wow, all of the letters behind their names. I'll be like, how can you not know this? How can you not know? You know, because anything that I speak on, it's already been fact checked. I already did this in academia. I tell everyone, you can feel how you want to, but you can't deny what I'm saying. Historically, from origin and academically, and from love, because I don't come from no hate perspective. Yep, he said it's not an interest to most. They love the darkness, as the Bible says. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely, brother Bay. And so that's what I want to leave with my brothers and sisters, man. Y'all, we always have the choice, and the clean glass and the dirty glass. As my brother keeps saying, he was like, "Sheik, you just been the clean glass for a long time," because I write things down, and one of my homies be on my lives all the time. He write things down. And he said, "Sheik, the other day somebody was on your page, said they've been following you for 5 years." He was like, the brother said he'd been following you for 5 years. Hold on, let me see. I just wrote bullets. And he was like, you ain't asked that brother, you ain't trying to solicit or sell that brother nothing. He said, but these people say they Moors, they ain't got a turban or fez from you. You ain't offer a dime. He said that the dude said he inspired and he look up to me, which is good, which is a beautiful thing. And I just ask people, if you came to my temple, I don't ask for nobody to give nothing, but would you give a charitable contribution? Because if you do, I'm always going to give you something. But those were the things that, you know, I like when I show people, and people be like, man, people been following you for 5 years and you've been solid for this long. Yep. And I told people what's going to happen to a lot of things. And here it is, a person that didn't grow up with me or nothing, been rocking with me for 5 years. And that individual can testify, like, I ain't tried to sell him nothing. I ain't tried to never say I can do this or do that or solicit to him. And this person been following me for 5 years. Why? Could I? If I wasn't right? But I'm just showing, you know, the clean glass version versus the dirty glass, when everything I do is a choice. And you don't have to, you know? And that's what I tell everyone with me. I don't operate like that. A person don't have to do nothing. I'm still going to do this because this is charity. But as we building something, I'm telling people we building things. And when I ask for certain things, if people want to do that, I'm always in the business to be able to give you something worth value. Especially if you in the wisdom and the understanding, the value when I'm give you is going to be priceless. So once again, man, y'all, thank y'all for y'all time. Thank you for listening to little old me. And like I said, man, with me, I don't gravitate to nothing outside of myself, but I love all my brothers. I love all my sisters. But isn't it ironic that we're the only group of people that's in splinter groups? Look, you got the so-called Moors. You got the so-called Hebrew Israelites. You got the so-called, it might be atheists. You got the so-called Christian. You got the so-called Egyptologists. You got the so-called fraternity people. You got the so-called Mason people. And then you got the so-called pro-African people. And then you got the so-called brothers that may not believe anything, but when it come down to the come down, Lord, please help me. And we all can't agree on who we are. That's the sad thing. And I showed y'all earlier about Empress Washita Gaston El Bey. Showed y'all how we more. Showed y'all all these things. And we still saying we're not this and we're not that. And then I always throw it back to my people. And I say, okay, well, give me with a good reason, not how you feel. Tell me why we're not. And tell me why you can't agree to these things when you understand, because you're already agreeing that you're something that's synonymous to slave. You're already agreeing to something that's civilter mortis in the eyes of the law. You are already doing that. You are already doing that. You are already doing that. So if you are already doing that by the words that you're being yourself under, then why do you have a problem with what I'm illuminating? And I illuminating this a plethora of time. Tell me, and everything that I speak on can be proven. And then I can show you even more that this is solid information, but it's a way to do things the right way. So why would anyone have a problem with that? to say we're not this. And I'm not telling you what who you to be, but you sure can't say what I can't be, because I have a right of this. I have a right of a nationality and a right to change it, pertaining to the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15, pertaining to understanding, pertaining to things that's precedented. So if we can talk about things that's precedent, if we can talk about reparations, then we have to have a clear sit down with some individuals that understand. And every panel that I've been on, they was like, man, you only need 15 minutes and you can rest your case with no rebuttal. Because I tell people, I've already done this in academia. This is not hard. It's already written. If you don't understand that, it's a problem with your lack of understanding. Because in a court of law, there's no excuse of not knowing what the law. You must know who you are. And this is what I tell my, when you proclaim and you declare, and when you have what? Due process. Oh, I think my YouTube about to die, y'all. Oh, yeah, I think it is. So I hope y'all listen to what I'm saying, man. No one can nationalize you. It's a learning experience, and I'm here for y'all, brothers and sisters, to make sure things go the right way. But truth has no sides. Truth has no sides, brothers and sisters. And if you want to learn, I'm right here. I'm your brother. Y'all hit me up. Anything you need, any research you need, I'm right here. I love y'all, man. Peace, light, and illumination.